The Texas Deer Association presents this week's Outdoor Hero.
Blame it on Texas, don't blame it on me.
Broadcasting live and syndicated worldwide via the Westwood One XDS satellite platform. It's America's favorite blend of outdoors and commentary. This is Alan Warren Outdoors.
Yes, it is, and a big Texas howdy to everybody listening this morning on this beautiful-looking October weekend. Looks like most of the country's going to see some perfect fall-type weather, and that means great weather for getting outdoors and getting closer to nature. For the next 2 hours, we're going to talk about all kinds of things that are related to the outdoors with people that are, well, they all have one thing in common, and that is their connection with nature. You know, this show is so much more than just about hunting. In fact, it's not really a hunting show at all. It's a program that hopefully will provide you with some perspective from our guests, people who have a deep love for nature and for wildlife, and they understand the role and the responsibility that man and woman has in being the best stewards possible. Now, for you regular listeners, you know that this hour is sponsored by a group called the Texas Deer Association, and each week we try and introduce you to somebody that I believe they exemplify what a true steward today really is, and that's what we call an outdoor hero. So let's bring up this hour's outdoor hero and say howdy to a true wildlife lover. Her name is Donna Boy, and she lives in, or rather near, the beautiful little town of Kerrville, Texas, what's known as the Texas Hill Country. Hey, Donna, what's going on?
Hi, Alan. How are you?
We're doing great. I'm so impressed with your writing, and we're going to get into that in just a bit. But for our listeners, tell everybody what Donna Boy does.
Oh, okay. First, let me tell you, it's a pleasure to be with you. I'm a big fan today.
Well, thank you.
Well, I'm a big fan always. What I do is I publish two newspapers in the whitetail deer industry. One is the Deer Breeders Gazette, and the other is the Texas Breeders Gazette. And I've been doing that for, almost 17 years.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What is it about deer and wildlife that you're attracted to? I mean, what do you love about it?
Oh, no, see, I'm going to give you an answer that no one else gives you probably. It's not the deer that attract me at all, Alan. It's the people who have chosen this path for their life.
You know, I totally understand that. Folks, Donna, and I'm going to get you, if you don't mind, to give us a little recap on a couple of stories that you've written. But Donna sent me the other day some of her craft, and I'm telling you, she is an incredibly skilled writer. She is an excellent communicator. She has got, and I'm not trying to just pat you too much on the back, but I'm telling you, you have this ability to, I think, see the big picture and see that it's not the deer, it's not how big the deer is, but it's the human beings. It's the people that are so awesome that work with the land, that work with these beautiful animals. So how did you become a writer, Donna?
I guess it just happened. It just unfolded. It was a natural thing. You know, I just wrote all the time, and eventually people started asking me to write things. I've written obituaries. I've written proposals. I've written, you name it, I guess. And so it was just a natural thing. I did not go to school for it. I went to school for something else, and this is what I wanted to do. This was that deep passion that we all have inside of us, some skill, some talent, and I was blessed to realize what mine was at a very early age.
Were you a reader as a child? Did you read a lot of books?
Yes, a big reader, yes.
Yeah, I have found that if you enjoy reading, that's one of the steps towards becoming a good writer. And you also got to be a pretty good storyteller, and you are an incredible storyteller. I want you to tell the story of the boy that you wrote about last Christmas. Can you tell us about him?
I will, and you know what? I'm going to rerun that story this Christmas. I just had a follow-up phone call with him the other day. His name is Ben, and I'm not going to butcher his last name, but I met Ben at White Ghost Ranch in Doss, where he was on a hunt. And, it's a special needs hunt. And when I was asked to come out and meet him, I wasn't sure what to expect. But this young man who looked incredibly healthy and normal was definitely not what I expected. And other than, some tired fatigue lines on his face and the need to sit or recline during our interview, I would not have known that at least based on his attitude, that there was anything wrong. But Ben has a condition where he has no intestines. So basically food runs right through him. And this hunt, it was big for Ben because he loves to hunt. Mm-hmm. And so this had my attention, and the opportunity for him to hunt, of course, is very limited. So a high fence hunt, you would think is going to be, the way to go for him, but really it's a challenging thing. And he moved me, Alan.
Well, how old is Ben?
Ben is 21, and he's the longest surviving patient with this disease. At the time of the interview, there was only about 300 people diagnosed with this.
Wow.
And they pass on at 6 years old. Ben is 20, he'll be 22 this year, and he's still hanging in there. He's now having some liver pancreas issues that he tells me are just another stepping stone, and he has such a positive outlook. And getting to connect with the outdoors was so important for him, and it's a beautiful gift that these deer breeders do when they bring people out, and it's more than the trophy hunt. It is experiencing the calm outdoors, which then touches the calm inside, and it's the camaraderie of being with other men and other women who enjoy the same things and participating in a normal activity. And he was just a pleasure. He moved me. He touched me, and my drive home from there was very contemplative, and things like that. And people like that in this industry are what keep me in this industry. And people like White Ghost Ranch that sponsored the hunt, and so many of our members of TDA do sponsor these hunts. It just happened to be White Ghost I went to. They learned from Ben. You think that he's going to learn all this. No, you learn from these people, and it's amazing.
Well, folks, we're talking with Donna Boy. Donna is an articulate, skilled writer who is in love with wildlife. And more importantly, she's in love with the people that love wildlife. And she's a wonderful representative of a steward and somebody who believes in conservation and taking an active role in trying to promote the good things that we do. Donna, let me tell you, when the reason why I called you, and I think you know this, I asked you, I wanted to make you, I think you're an outdoor hero. And you said, I'm not a hero. And you told me, call Ben. And then when you told me about him, I said, no. Ben may be a hero, but you, Donna Boy, you are a hero, because the way you told the story, when I let Lisa, I said, honey, why don't you read the story? She says, I'm not into deer. I said, if you're into human beings, you need to read the story. Donna, she started tearing up. It was the most wonderful. She says, I've never read anything like that. She says, and she didn't even talk about the deer. And that is so cool. It was about the people and not how many points some buck had.
No, you're right. And, I think, I haven't tapped into that story in a while, but if I remember correctly, I think I ended that story with the fact that life is a migration. I think I referenced the book of Exodus, and Ben's attitude about his illness. I expected Ben to say to me, and I led into the question. I normally don't do that, but I led into the question with some casual conversation, and then I said, "So do you think this is meant to be? Do you think God has a plan for you?" Mm-hmm. And he just smiled and said, "No." And I said, "What?" And he said, "No."
Really?
Yes. He said, "This is just me." He said, "Donna, I'm so much more than my spirit. I am my body." That is really a unique concept. I think that we, separating spirit from body has become something we do to justify certain things. Well, that's not really who I am. I'm, that kind of an attitude. But Ben is, no, this is me. I am who I am. And it reminded me of a quote from the book of Exodus where God says to Moses, "I am that I am." And I thought how interesting. Exodus means migration, and life is a migration. And this kid came across my path as part of my migration, and he's changed me. You don't always. Ben taught me there isn't always a reason. Sometimes it just is. And the sooner you accept that and the easier you accept that, the better. And it's an accepting life, accepting consequences, accepting the situation that we find peace. It doesn't mean we have to stay there in that situation, but accepting it, we find peace. And he is one of the most peaceful individuals. This boy's dying. This boy has walked up to death and said, "Let's go. Come on.
Wow.
Let's walk my path for a while before we go on your path."
Donna, I'm getting the signal. I got to take a hard break. Folks, please stick with us. As you can tell, we've got a passionate, wonderfully articulate guest. She's our outdoor hero. Her name is Donna Boy. She is a member of the Texas Deer Association, as and we invite you to become a member as well. You can go to huntyourway.com. Click on membership. You can become a member today for free. Huntyourway.com. Donna Boy and I will be right back. Please don't go anywhere. That's right, folks, and God bless all the people out there that are involved in nature and wildlife and stewardship. We appreciate all of them. And appreciate y'all for listening. This is the Alan Warren Outdoors Radio Show, and on the line with us is our friend from the Kerrville area in the hill country of Texas. Her name is Donna Boy. And Donna's been telling us about a young man that she met, and then she wrote a story about, and I'm telling you, it is incredibly moving. But then you told me about another person that this one's up in Pennsylvania, that another man that had kind of an unusual situation that moved you as well.
You know, Alan, I get asked all the time, how is it that some of your best friends are Amish? And I just laugh and say I'm really blessed. And one of the things in the deer industry that probably a lot of people, especially Texans, may not realize is that the deer industry has really readjusted and helped the Amish farmer. And
how so?
Well, let's take a common Amish income mode of income would be furniture making. Mm-hmm. Now, you have furniture coming in from all over, and coming in rather cheap, and you have auctions where antiques you can buy at a really good quality stuff at a really good price, and you have furniture stores offering 2 years no interest. This is really a competitive market, and it's one of their main money makers. They make phenomenal furniture, mm-hmm. but it's tough. And then in the farming end of it, when they have these gorgeous, beautiful farms, they can't always compete with the English farmer. They do not have the milking equipment that we have. They don't have the tractors to make the hay, So it's become very competitive. So deer breeding was, it was. I don't want to say it was the end all to be all, the savior, but it really made a big difference in helping them maintain their farms. They put up their high fences. They become good stewards of the deer. And some of the Amish breeders are raising some of the most beautiful deer that I've ever seen in my life. In fact, at one time held the record for the world's biggest deer was an Amish man, Dean Bonsugar, out of Ohio.
And let me just jump in here. If it were not for the ability of the Amish people to do deer breeding and have deer farms, many of those beautiful pieces of property that are absolutely stunning, folks, over in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, mm-hmm. they'd be turned into shopping centers and condos, wouldn't they?
You're right. You have the Indiana area, the Holmes County, Ohio area, the Lancaster, Pennsylvania area, the Newcastle, Pennsylvania area, where you do have these gorgeous farms. And if you can't afford to keep the farm, it's going to be bought up and it's going to be developed, and we're going to lose a major heritage. And these deer farms have allowed them to maintain the beauty and pull in the family. Deer breeding is a complete family operation, especially for the Amish. A lot of times here in the South we will have ranch managers, and they don't in the North. They don't have ranch managers. They have wives and children, and they do what the ranch manager does for much less pay. But
all right, folks, we're talking with this hour's outdoor hero. Her name is Donna Boy. She's a mom. She's a hunter. She's a rancher. a wildlife lover, and an incredible writer. And somehow she manages to juggle all this stuff. And Donna, tell us about Reuben, your friend that you met up there in Pennsylvania.
With my pleasure. Reuben just puts a smile on my face. Years and years ago, probably, I don't know how many years ago, I was invited to stay with some Amish friends in Gap, PA, which is near Lancaster. And I arrived with my family, and we were very excited about the opportunity, and I met Reuben. And Reuben was a young man, 18 or 19, and he was just fresh out of an accident that rendered him a paraplegic. So the Amish community draws together quite well with situations like this, and Reuben has a full-time job. He drafts drawings for houses. I called them blueprints, and he pointed out that I was outdated and aged. But he was, as I said, new to his chair and his circumstances. And he had such a beautiful smile, and he was able to communicate, verbally, but also with his very, very expressive eyes. And years later, I flew from Texas. Actually, last year I flew from Texas to Pennsylvania to attend their white-tailed deer sale out there, just as means of support and connecting with some of my northern friends. And I was sitting in the room and looking around, and Reuben sold a deer at what some might consider a lower price, and he was thrilled. And I pulled my chair over and I said, "You're pretty happy with that?" And Reuben said, "I am." He said, "I just made a nice profit on that deer, and she's wonderful." He said, "She's bottle-fed one of my pets, and I love her, and she's going to go to a good home." And just in the course of that conversation, I thought, boy, this is an inspiring kid. He's a paraplegic, and he's raising deer.
So his attitude's good?
His attitude is, if I can quote Reuben, he said, I said to him, what participation, can you have? I'm usually pretty blunt. I'm not going to hide the fact that you're in a chair. Let's bring it out and talk about it, and I'm not going to baby you, and I just want to know your life. And in the course of that, I asked him, what participation can you have in your own operation? He owns the deer farm. He has a partner. And he said, I obviously can't do the physical things, but he does the record keeping. He does the graphic design for the advertisements.
Wow.
And he said, his greatest challenge in his life, and this really touched me. I kind of got quiet here and had to regroup. His greatest challenge was watching everyone move on. This happened to Reuben when he was 18, and he played a lot of sports, and he was now in a chair and sat on the sidelines watching his friends continue on with their lives, their sports, and then eventually with marriage and children. And, rather than feel left behind, he progressed forward in his own life. And the deer breeding was one of them. And right now, Reuben has a buck that's outstanding. I mean, huge, big, wide-open, beautiful deer. He said to me, I like to go outside. And he gave me a nice description, where he sits outside and, might cover himself with a blanket over his lap and just watches his deer. He said they are beside his family, because you can't always just have family. You have to have something else in life to fill you. And he's a deeply spiritual man. And he said that he sits there and he likes to feel the sun on his face, which explained to me why he was so tan and healthy. And he said he likes to watch the deer. They are the one steady constant in his life beyond his family. And he said, I like to feel the wind on my face. And he said to me, and I want to make sure I recognize, and I looked, he didn't finish the sentence, and I looked at him and his eyes swung upward, and he was indicating God. And he said, I want to recognize him, Donna. And I said, duly noted, Reuben. And he smiled so big, and his smile is amazing. And when I left that deer sale, we here in Texas, we had some regulations come down. We had some persecution, in my opinion, that came down upon our industry. And I was feeling kind of down. I was feeling really low. And the trip to Pennsylvania was also to visit my family to get that lift. But this kid lifted me more in that short time. It was everything I needed. And
Hey, Donna, I got about 10 seconds. I got to wrap this up. Do not hang up. Oh, you are just wonderful. Folks, this is Donna Boy, our outdoor hero this week. Please stick around. We got a lot more to talk about. This is Alan Warren Outdoors. All right, if you want to be motivated, you want to feel good, you need to stick around, folks, because our guest right now, she's just amazing. She's an amazing woman. She's a writer and a mom and a rancher and a deer lover. And Donna, I don't know how you put it all together, but you do an incredible job. Folks, she's our outdoor hero this hour, and she's a member, like I am, of the Texas Deer Association. And if you like what you're hearing, if you enjoy this kind of story and the kind of people that we're talking about, we invite you to become a member of the Texas Deer Association. It is so important. I believe, Donna, personally, that there has never been a time more important than right now to get people together to support the rights of us to do things the American way, follow the laws, but leave us alone and allow the people like Reuben that you were talking about in the last story to raise animals and to have a farm. But talk to me about your thoughts on connecting the city folk with what happens out in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, or in the Texas Hill Country.
Alan, I can't agree with you more. It is a very important time in our industry. And regarding Reuben, you know, as far as a city person, if you will, these farms are open. These farms, deer breeders welcome visitors, and it's a very, I think it's a very, I wouldn't say misunderstood. I would say little known about industry. You know, I'm sitting anywhere, anytime, and someone might say, you know, what do you do for a living? And suddenly this conversation is an hour long because they've never heard of deer breeding. And somebody like Reuben, you know, with the article on Reuben, and I'll wrap that up and we'll move on, I just wanted to tell you that I ended that with a quote when I said, I didn't know that I needed relit until I sat with someone filled with light. And so many of our people in the deer industry, all of the people that I know in the deer industry are in it because they love it. It is the passion for the animal. They absolutely love what they do. And it is an alternative means of farming. And it's a good means of farming. And in my own experience, my farm was surrounded by a swamp, and there's not a lot, swampy ground, and there's not a lot you can do with it. You're not going to mow it. You're not going to plow it. You're not going to graze cows or sheep. Mm-hmm. So deer was a way for us to, it was a way for me to pay my property taxes, but for my husband at the time, it was such a passion. I mean, he just enjoyed it, and I saw this, and that was my lead-in into the deer industry. And the more people I met, the more I realized what a deep passion it is for these deer. They really, really love what they do. And you'll have a lot of misconception about the high fence hunts. And I tell people, go see these hunts. I have a friend out in, I think it's in Missouri, who challenges clients or potential clients. He says, take a camera. For every deer you photograph when I'm not with you, I'll give you $100. He hasn't paid $100 yet. It's a hunt. It's a real good hunt. And I think that, you know, opening the eyes of people really takes experience. It takes hands-on. It takes come to my place and see what I do. You don't have to be pro-deer breeder, but please don't be anti-deer breeder. If you're going to be anti-something, you should be mature enough and responsible enough to have a really solid reason. And what you have in this industry, in the Texas Deer Association, are caretakers of wildlife, caretakers of the environment. These deer breeders put so much of themselves into their operations, and their families put so much of themselves into the operations. And the industry, you know, it has a ripple effect. But
if we don't get enough people to actually understand it, it's like you mentioned with Reuben that the light came on, you know, for you. But we have to allow people to come out and see what we do on these ranches, and then allow the light to come on in them. And then once the light comes on, they get it totally.
They get it. Exactly, because to down an industry of any kind, you should have some knowledge of that industry. And what I have found in my experience, in my 17 years in the deer industry, what I have found is when someone has a negative attitude about deer breeding, we talk for a short time, and suddenly I hear this throughout the whole conversation. I didn't realize that. I didn't know that. Really? I had a phone call yesterday from a guy in Pennsylvania who was in tears because his doe, who was 16 and a half years old,
Wow.
had just died. 16 and a half years old. Now, you tell me that's not good stewardship.
No
Tell me
kidding.
that's not loving your animal, right? And I had done it. The reason he called me was I had done an article on that deer years and years and years ago. And he
Hey, Donna, we got to do it again. Please don't go away. We got another segment coming up. Folks, we're talking with today's outdoor hero. She is Donna Boy, an articulate, incredibly skilled writer, and excellent communicator, and member of the Texas Deer Association. This is the Alan Warren Outdoors program. We hope you'll stay with us as I don't know what's going to come out of Donna's mouth next, but I know it's going to be great. Stick around. All right, we're talking with this hour's outdoor hero, an incredibly articulate lady, a friend of mine named Donna Boy, who lives up in the Kerrville, Texas area. And Donna, at the risk of me sounding like an alpha male and a sexist, if I were to sit next if I were to sit next to you on an airplane, I would never guess in a million years that you are so connected with nature and wildlife. What do people say when they find out what you do?
Well, they're stunned. They're stunned. They don't. I think we have preconceived notions in our minds about different occupations, and I think that I'm not a very big person, and I'm not short either, but I'm just average, and so to picture me, working with 300-inch deer, tine length deer, it's surprising to a lot of them. So.
What do women say? Are they intimidated by you? Does it turn them off to, you do that? Or?
No. Interesting. I was cutting a drop tine off a buck in velvet once because it had busted and he needed some care, and that can be a really messy procedure. Mm-hmm. And in the course of it, bad mom, I forgot to pick my son up at football. So some of the PTO moms brought him down my driveway, and I walked out of the gate, to meet them, and I'm covered in blood, and I'm holding this velvet-covered drop tine, and one covered her mouth, and they looked at each other. This was when I was in Pennsylvania. Texas, it wouldn't bother them, I don't think. And it caused a good discussion, and they were all fascinated, and many of them came back with their families to then see the deer and to get to know us and understand exactly what it is we do for a living and why we do it for a living. So, no, I don't think it's any more of a turnoff to a woman than it would be for anyone else. It's just a surprise, I think.
Okay, as somebody in the industry, as being a female and a good-looking, smart female,
thank you.
How does that give you an advantage in what you do over the quote-unquote stereotypical male?
I'm not going to lie, Alan. It's a big advantage. I'm not going to lie. I don't take any. I don't take anything away from the fact that I do use sometimes my feminine laugh and my smile to lead into a conversation and to educate people.
And you should. I mean,
well, sure.
It sounds like you're maybe. I don't know. It's not self-conscious, but maybe you don't want to talk about you're such a humble person, but you're a beautiful woman, and you got to use that. I mean, I would think that men would listen to you if nothing else because you're pretty, and then as soon as you open your mouth, they go, "Oh my gosh, she's incredibly smart too."
And that has not always been. If I'm out and wanting to actually meet someone socially, and then I tell them what I do, you can just forget about them getting to know me. They want to get to know all about my clients and the deer and the pictures on my telephone. So it can be a little disadvantage. But as far as introducing people into the whitetail industry, it's not hard to for lack of a better term, to hook someone into listening about it, because it's a fascinating industry. I mean, from the fawns to the bucks to everything we do, and we've become scientists, we've become biologists. A deer breeder's refrigerator is filled with home cures and medicinal cures, and our library is filled with books and pamphlets on stewardship and foraging plants and feeds, and we really have to get into our industry, and it's easy to talk about our industry to people, because I will venture to say that every single deer breeder knows their deer. Every deer breeder knows how to get it done, how to take care of them. And another big conception outside of deer breeding is steroids and drugs,
right?
And antler growth enhancements. And it's just not true. You're, in every sense of the word, you're going to have, in every industry, you're going to have people that try to cut corners and cheat. You can't do it in the deer industry. You absolutely can't do it, because passed down genetics are not drug-induced. Passed down genetics are genetically induced. And your reputable breeders have taught us this, and we have pedigree charts that go back 6, 7, 8 generations where we can show you this doe is going to throw a typical rack because her grandmother did, because her great-grandmother did, and her great-great-grandmother did. And it's running through the female mitochondria. This buck is going to throw these long tines and width because that's what his genetics have built into him. And this has become a really neat, fun science for us, too, to create these big, beautiful deer. And the opposition to us, okay, don't care who I offend here, is a lot of jealousy.
Absolutely it is.
We're outbreeding them. We're out doing it. Look, if I was in a business for 30, 40 years and someone came along and in 10 years was making me look like a chump, well, I'd either beat them or join them. Well, they're trying to beat us, and we're not going to let them. So.
Well, okay, Donna, listen, we only have a couple minutes left. How can people connect with Donna Boy, keep up with you, with your wonderful writings, and just follow you? Because you are... Let me tell you something, folks. If you want to stay abreast of what's happening in this industry with somebody that is in the know and a great communicator, she's on the phone with us right now. So, Donna, how do people get a hold of you and follow you?
They can connect with me on Facebook. It is spelled B-O-Y. It's unique, but it is. They can always call me too. And to subscribe to the paper, I can't really do it. In order to get the newspaper, you need to be a deer breeder or in some facet of the deer industry. So I kind of keep that kind of exclusive and elite, not for any reason other than to keep my costs down. I'd mail it to the world if I could, because like you said, through some of my articles, I've been blessed to meet some amazing people, and I love sharing their stories and putting it out there, but I can't. I just can't. My postal costs are a little extensive, so I have to keep that to just the deer market. But, attend the TDA events and ask somebody, where's Donna Boy? They'll point me out. They'll find me. And I'll be happy
easy to find you at a TDA event, that's for sure.
Find me at a TDA event, for sure.
All right, we got to call it there, Donna. Please tell me that you will join us again real soon.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You have a wonderful weekend, and I'm going to send everybody to join you, follow you on Facebook, okay?
Thanks so much, Alan.
All right, we'll talk again. How was that for an outdoor hero this hour? Unbelievable. Tim is on the phone right now, and people are wanting to give their opinions on Donna Boy.
Wow.
You can call us and let us know what you think. 855-296-7469. If you'd like to become a member of the Texas Deer Association, it's really easy to do. You can get a free membership. Just go to huntyourway.com. Those 3 words, huntyourway.com. Click on membership at the top of the page. It'll take you less than a minute, and you are a member just like Donna Boy is, just like I am. This is Alan Warren Outdoors.